Let's continue to get some reaction to the energy woes with energy analyst Adil Nchabeleng. A very good morning to you. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. We've just heard and listened to the package that shows that 82% of 2023 shows how dominant load shedding was when it comes to this year as we wrap it down. 407 hours of rolling power cuts over the last 12 months. Rather significant. What's your reaction to the year that we've had as we wind down and take a look at the impact of load shedding?
Look, it's been a terrible year, given the fact that it's been one of the worst, mostly affected year in respect to load shedding, in terms of severity as well as the levels that we had to endure. You know, at one point we were sitting at a permanent stage 6 plus, almost, you know, in terms of load shedding throughout most of the year. So it's been quite a hard year for most people, particularly the consumers. The industrial sector has suffered as a basis of not having electricity. And the fact that, you know, companies had to shut down. You had a situation whereby Ford Automotive Company complained. You had at some point about the last month now where VW complained similarly as well, that if things go on as it is in respect to load shedding, they're going to be forced to actually consider shutting down their plant in South Africa and moving elsewhere. So it's been a really tough year with regards to load shedding in South Africa. We've had over 300 days, literally, of rolling blackouts. And it hasn't really helped in a way, given the fact that, you know, Eskom is saying that they're going to recover over years. But in electricity, you can't plan in terms of years to come of a service you're going to be providing. You plan in terms of the year that you're sitting in, if you can provide firm capacity and guaranteed electricity, because operations of people are not planned in 5 years from now. They are planned on the immediate situation. So it's been quite disappointing to see the performance. But what has been the upbeat is there's been a change in terms of focus as well as priority. After the introduction of the electricity minister, things did improve. After the introduction of ensuring that late last year, when they brought in the board under, you know, Chairperson Pomakwana, there was a certain direction that literally took over, and there was an improvement in performance within Eskom.
You speak about guaranteed electricity and looking at the year ahead and now just gauging the impact of load shedding on businesses, the economy, and what we hope will be a better year. Is there any sense that going into 2024, it's also an election year, very important to make sure that, you know, South Africans are happy so that they can make the right political choice? What do you think the year will look like in terms of load shedding and the impact of power cuts?
In terms of the year ahead, we are going to have less severe electricity power cuts. So starting from January, going right up to the election in May, you're going to have a situation whereby Eskom is going to try everything possible to provide us with almost basic electricity, but with intervals of load shedding, like your current stages where they are between stage 2 and when it becomes worse in stage 4, so that they can literally soften the mood of the electorate going into the elections. You know, but it does not help because, you know, you come up with a stopgap solution in order just to appease the moment and literally capture the hopes of people. But, you know, as I said to you, in electricity, you plan on a firm basis. What can I do that is guaranteed? And what Eskom has done, and that should have been done when we advised a lot in respect to what fundamentally is problematic, is the power plants that have literally been shut down, that are not operational. And as you aggregate all those units, they all come to about 16,000 megawatts of problematic plants in Eskom. If you don't sort that out, and you don't fix them, repair them, and bring them back into the grid and operation, you're going to have a disastrous situation, because there is so much that the current diesel and open cycle gas turbines environment of diesel spending will reach you. Beyond that, you're going to have to literally be limping, as Eskom is doing, where they have to do a forced load shedding and load reduction as a result of the fact that they simply cannot provide. Now they are in a cooling situation, in a cooling period between today, which is from yesterday. It was a load shedding was suspended on Wednesday night. From that period onwards, because industry had literally almost shut down, operations of mega industrial capacity have slowed down. You're going to have a lesser utilization of electricity. That's what they can do. So does it mean that when we go into the future, Eskom will go into a scenario whereby they are going to ask industries to shut down or literally reduce their consumption in order for Eskom to can manage and focus properly in terms of what it can supply? So it's going to be a really interesting game to see the next year's approach, because they have the election on the one end, which is the government and the ruling party. And on the other side of it is you have a consumer market that is growing and wants electricity. How do you balance the two? And for the sake that it's an election year, you need to show up. And that's what we're going to really find interesting to see. But load shedding is not going to be ended before elections.
What about the impact of Eskom's new CEO announced last week, Dan Marokane? We heard Electricity Minister Dr. Khosinzo Ramokgopa saying that he's looking forward to his leadership qualities, which will assist in bringing some sort of stability in tackling the energy crisis.
Look, the appointment of Dan Marokane brought a lot of hope, and has actually brought in the fact that at least Eskom is stabilizing at getting the fundamentals right. In terms of its executive structure, it's got a proper board with a CEO, with a board chairperson. It's got a proper now executive management. But the introduction of Dan Marokane will only be effective because he's only starting at the end of March. So you literally, it's going to be an April situation. After April is May. So it's got only a month to get to be familiar with the operation and literally operate within Eskom. So his appointment would not be effective leading up to the election. For the first 3 months of the year, usually what you do is, we call it the 100 days, where you familiarize yourself with an operational environment. And you actually try a few things that are going to make a change and a difference. So I don't see much happening in the first 3 months of the appointment of Dan Marokane. He's going to have to first familiarize and then come with his own action plan and get the buy-in of the team. He's got the credentials. He's got the background. He's been within Eskom. He's the tested and tried, candidate who understands the business of electricity and the environment of electricity generation. And coming back into an environment that he's familiar with will be helpful. The thing is, he now must do what needs to be done, which is get the support of the workers, get in the buy-in from the executive level, make sure that the board and his executives are in alignment on their vision, and focus on that key problem I spoke about, that the 16,000 megawatts of this problematic electric cuts and power cuts, which is currently causing load shedding, can be resolved, and those power units can be restored and actually repaired back into operation.
As Marokane is set to, get on the job in March, we know that South Africa is launching a bidding process for an extra 2,500 megawatts of nuclear power. They're hoping to have it by March. To tackle the country's worst power outages on record. Is this a short-term fix, just looking at the intensity of the process? Surely it can't be.
No, the 2,500 megawatts is not even the next coming 5 years to 10.
Yeah.
The horizon of that planning is just for the sake of making sure that in the next 10 years, Eskom has additional energy capacity. With nuclear, when you procure a nuclear power plant, it's a long-term commitment and investment and a path to walk. They are buying a 2,500 megawatts of a new build capacity. The process will, for instance, end in March next year, but it will take another year plus for even the appointment as well as the starting of the job to happen. So say if you're planning from this project to start off officially in 2025, you have another 30 to 80 years maximum to get that electricity into the grid. So by 2033, that is the only time we might see the first line of electricity coming out of this new building, if they start in 2025. coming into the grid and operational. So that is a long-term planning horizon. We are not looking at the short-term level in terms of helping Eskom. The current scenario is the only thing that will help Eskom in the next short-term environment is for Eskom, one, to ensure that it fixes its current broken down units. It maintains, it repairs, and it refurbishes. And it ensures that it can even, where the plants are basic issues like your minimum emission standards and are broken down and cannot be brought back because they don't meet the threshold of minimum emissions standards requirements by the Department of Environmental Affairs. What Eskom should do is go into that environment, ensure that they can have a technology as well as a solution in place to close up that gap and bring back that units into operation. So we can't even count on that 2,500 megawatts.
Thank you very much. Perhaps let's leave it there for now. Energy analyst Adil Nchabeleng giving us a sense of the big expectations as we look to 2024, of course having grappled with the worst power outages on record in 2023.